The Fujifilm Fujinon XF 14mm 2.8R. Is it the ultra wide for you? If you've been following relatively closely, well, thanks for a start. But secondly, you'll have noticed that I'm now on the 14mm lens, and that annoys me a bit because I don't have that lens. Why can't that just say 14? Well, obviously it's the same fit. So enough of that waffle. I've already had people complain about the cuts. I'm not a complete expert at making videos. I'm learning. Photography is my thing. And that's why I'm going to talk to you about this 14mm lens. I moved across from the 18f2, which I absolutely loved. And I know it has a lot of haters online, but I loved it. However, I love my ultra wides. And I used to use a 21 1.4 on my Nikon full frame bodies and absolutely loved it. So when the opportunity came to get the 14-2.8 at a decent price, I couldn't say no. And here it is, pride of place on my XT1. Yes, XT1, not XT2, not yet. This still has plenty of life in it yet. I'm not into swapping and changing just for the sake of it. This lens really did the job. As soon as I put it on the camera, before I had the chance to give it a bash properly at a real shoot, I noticed the difference. But let me just talk about some of the specs first of all, because some of you are into that sort of stuff. There are 10 elements in 7 groups on this lens. That includes 2 aspherical and 3 extra low dispersion elements. That 14mm then is the equivalent on a full frame 35mm format of 21mm. It offers an angle of view of 90.8 degrees, 7 rounded diaphragm blades, the stops 19 stops at a 30 EV. In macro mode 18 centimeters right round to infinity, but normal 30 centimeters to infinity. Maximum magnification of 0.12 times. It's 65mm by 58.4mm and weighs 235 grams. To be honest, the weight's not a big deal at all with this lens, as with many other Fujifilm lenses. I use the hood, why not? Helps out with contrast sometimes, gives you a little bit of protection, looks the part, and as I've mentioned, that annoys me. It's a bit stupid, but hey. Better than some third-party hoods where you've got the massive name plastered across it. Putting it back on the Fuji X-T1, at least in my opinion, it's a good fit. But what about the images? Well, let me put up some sample images now, straight out the camera, pretty much. JPEGs, using the film simulations. There we have it, another winner from Fujifilm. As expected, that's why I bought it, and that's why it lives on my X-T1. Super sharp right from the go, ultra wide just as I like it. Be careful in certain venues, certain events that you shoot, it might be too wide, believe it or not. One of the first shoots I took it on was in a large exhibition hall, and it was just a little bit too wide for certain shots, but you work your way around that. You get your head into the lens and the angle of view, and you're away. One little gripe for me, and just because I wasn't used to it, was this little clutch mechanism where you can pull on the ring and it reveals the distance guides. That straight away throws you into manual mode. Now, for those of you that have used a similar system before, that's one of the reasons you'll get the lens. But if not, just be careful. That caught me out a couple of times and I thought, why on earth is this in manual mode now? I was checking the switch below, I was checking everything and nothing. Just be careful with that. But if you're a landscape or a street photographer or something like that that requires the distance meter, that's a nice added feature. And the mechanism is quite solid really. It's only when you're really rushing on a shoot that you might just pull that by accident. But with time and practice with this lens, I don't think that's a problem. The colours are great, the tones are great. Of course it works well with the sensor. The autofocus I didn't show you, but let's just give you a little clue now. So we're going to try and turn it on, point towards the camera that's recording. Now go the other way, back. You can barely hear a thing. I'm going to put it down to the mic, so be out of shot a little bit, and I'm just going to throw it as far out as possible, so out the window and as close as possible now. So you hear a little bit, but can you hear it? I'll put it back close to the mic, off shot again. So this is towards my hand, right in front of the lens, super close. Remember, 30 centimeters or 18 in macro mode. Straight out. The autofocus isn't a problem, especially as it's an ultra wide angle lens. You won't need to worry too much. You'll get what you need in focus. As for bokeh, well, it's not distracting at all. Well, you've seen a few sample shots. Do be careful if you're not used to this angle of view, that you can distort people if you're very close. That could be something that you want to think about if you're shooting groups with this. Maybe just large groups, maybe just your unusual angles, not your standard groups. You'll know what you want to do with that. If you want to get a lot of the ambience around, not just the people in it, this lens will definitely help you to just suck all of that information out of the scene onto your image. And it could just be that extra little touch that you've been looking for without going even further wide. I was looking at the Samyang 12mm f2. I think it's a lens I'd still love to get my hands on. But this should be miles ahead of it. Autofocus, of course. Fuji build quality. It's just a nice lens. Let us know what you think below if you've used this lens. Some of you might comment, what about the 16-1.4? I'm expecting that's a great lens too. I wanted to go back to my 21mm full frame equivalent. The 16 is a tempting lens though, and it is somewhat faster too. Hopefully I'll get to review it soon. But this for now is going to be permanently fixed on this body. Hopefully gear acquisition syndrome doesn't take over, because this is a winner. Get involved below. Subscribe. Very soon we'll be having that competition we mentioned before. So if you want to win something from Fujifilm, from my personal collection, let us know. SO Cameras have sponsored the competition, and I'll let you know a bit more about that very soon. Thanks for watching.